Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I am joined by the amazing V. Fuhriman. V, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing very well. I am very excited to have you here. This is such an honor for me. But before we talk about why you're here, I would like for the people that don't know you to get to know you a little bit. You are a horror and true crime fanatic. You have been watching horror movies since you could barely walk and talk. And you have a bachelor's degree in sociology, a minor in criminology and corrections, and a minor in diversity, a master's in forensic and legal psychology, and a master's in clinical mental health counseling. So that's a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Like you are a very, very busy person. So what gives you the drive and determination to just keep going at it head on and just keep tackling all these different things that you want to be able to accomplish?
I really just want to help people is the long and short of it. And when it comes down to it, like having more letters behind your name helps you help people more. I'm actually going for my law degree next year, and so we're just putting more and more letters behind my name. Um, I guess we're trying to make an alphabet soup in the end of it. Uh,
Sure.
so uh, it just comes down to being able to help people the best we can. And when it comes down to it, like we as people just want to be able to see people as people, right?
Mhm.
And in society nowadays, like people don't really do that.
Right.
So when we are mental health professionals, or even if you're just the McDonald's person giving somebody a burger, like we want to be able to help people the best we can.
Mhm.
And so I'm trying to use my knowledge as power for good and try to make the most difference in the world that I can.
It's really not hard to have empathy. And that's something I think a lot of us forget nowadays. And when you can come to somebody that's been through the same type of struggles as you, whether it's through therapy or, like you said, whether it's just somebody that's giving you a burger or somebody that's checking out your food, it's really easy to just lose yourself in, this is just, somebody else, somebody else. We're all people and we all need help sometimes. And the lengths that you're going to help people is truly inspiring because you want to focus on neurodivergent individuals, eating disorders, LGBTQIA plus, and trauma. These are things that I hate saying hot button topic because I feel like that's super disrespectful to say. As
Yeah.
somebody whose daughter is LGBTQ plus, whose mother-in-law is LGBTQ plus, I was the minister at my mother-in-law and her wife's wedding, and I bawled like a baby when my mother-in-law was walking down the aisle because she was so goddamn beautiful. And we just often forget that those letters are not what make this person who they are, and that often gets put on the focus.
Mhm.
And it's to be able to help people. There are some people that live their whole life. We have maybe 100 years on this planet if we're really, really lucky to spend any of that time not being yourself or being scared or being alone. It's not worth it. So these are the type of things that you are out there helping people with. And for a lot of people, coming out and being who they are is a death sentence.
It
So,
is, yeah.
we feel like we've progressed so far, but there's still these people that are so scared to come out and be who they are. And I say this on a lot of episodes. My DMs are always open. Sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger. So, you can go out and reach out to me and I can be there to listen and give you honest advice, and V is doing this on a professional level too. So, it's just amazing. I just want to thank you because, like I said, I've known a lot of friends, a lot of family members that were scared to come out and be who they were because of the people around them. So for people to be able to come to you and your job is to help these people and you focus and you specialize on these people that it's literally life or death sometimes on them
Mm.
being who they want to be. It's a beautiful thing you're doing. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for, taking all this time in your life. This isn't something where you just walk into some place and put in your application and you got the job. You're spending years to become a professional to help these people to become who they are and accept who they are. That's the big thing. The way that you're born, that's who you are. You're not going to change
Yeah.
that. No camp with a cross on the front of it is going to change who you are. So you're helping these people to come out, be who they are, and be proud of who they are. So above horror, above podcast, as a father, as a human being, thank you for the hard work that you do and trying to help these people to become who they are and who they're meant to be. That's a beautiful fucking thing, V. So thank you for that. And as if that wasn't enough. Like, we just talked about all these things. You were like, you know what? I'm still kind of bored, so I'm just going to start an LLC, the Girl Wrapped in Plastic, which, you know, is going to help to pursue modeling, acting, podcasting, art, which is how you and I actually linked up. So, you know, the Girl Wrapped in Plastic. What can you tell us a little bit about your LLC and what you're going to be doing through that?
Yeah, so I actually have two LLCs. I have my LLC for my counseling, and then I also have my LLC for all my like artsy stuff. And so with my Girl Wrapped in Plastic, it's for my modeling, for my photography, for basically anything under the sun that encompasses all of my art stuff because I do basically everything. And so it's just basically a platform for me to be able to express myself and to try and make money off of it.
Right.
And so basically having the LLC behind my name gives me more authority and power to be able to get the name behind it, to be able to get money and to be able to do what I want to do with all of my things. Because it was hobbies before, and now I can like go ahead and pursue more behind it, which is really cool.
It's just 3 more letters. We're adding 3 more letters onto the end of that name now.
Exactly.
So, again, I know I say this all the time, but I have all of these social media links down in the description. So make sure that you're giving them a follow. It's so important to become a part of that family as well, because they're going to have a lot of amazing things coming up in the future that all of us are going to want to be a part of and all of us are going to want to check out. So make sure you're clicking the social media links. Make sure you're following them on all their social media platforms. Now, in order for you to do, you know, the Girl Wrapped in Plastic, where you're talking about, you know, horror stuff, and in order to be in the horror community at all, horror had to start for you somewhere, V. So now I would like to go back to the past and talk about what got you started in the horror genre, your first horror movie, and we're almost to 500 episodes, guys. We have almost done 500 episodes of this podcast. I've never talked about this movie before. How amazing is that? So, V, your first horror movie was
Deep Rising. It is a weird one. So my mom actually got me into horror, and I was like barely walking and talking when we saw this. So I was like maybe 4 or 5 years old, and we were all up on the couch eating our popcorn and everything. And if anybody has seen the movie, it is not appropriate for a 4 or 5 year old. It has swearing, it has blood and gore, it has violence. It is everything that adult me would want in a movie. Not so much what a 4 or 5 year old would want, but it's okay.
right.
It is fabulous. It has some folks on a cruise ship with this massive creature that they are shooting at. Fabulous movie. Definitely recommend watching it. It is a strange concept. Makes you not want to go on a cruise ship, but that's okay.
Facts.
Yeah. Not that I really want to go on a cruise ship anyways, but besides the point.
Right. Well, if you guys haven't seen the movie, it is streaming free on YouTube. So I do have that link down in the description as well. So I strongly suggest you check it out. I rewatched it last night just to kind of freshen myself up on this. And one thing I forgot about this movie, and I'm not being funny here, the CGI in this movie, as everybody knows, I'm not a huge CGI fan. It doesn't look bad. The CGI in this movie actually looks really good, especially for what it was 96, 97, 98 when this movie came
98.
out.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, for especially in that time frame of the CGI that was happening around that time, this movie really holds up pretty well CGI wise. So we know that you were very young watching it with your mother, which, by the way, Mom, thank you for starting them on the right path. I appreciate that. But you talked about you were very young watching it with your mother. Do you remember which scene it was that affected you the most?
It was definitely the scene where they were just all of the cast was going after the creature, and they were shooting at it. And I don't remember the characters' names because I'm terrible with names. It is the ADHD and autism in me that is just like bad with names. Faces, great. Scenes, yes. Names, no. But that's okay. So they're going after the creature, and there's just like this massive like shootout scene, and it is fabulous. I believe I sent you the link to it.
Yep.
If you can link it below, that would be awesome.
Yep.
So it is a fabulous scene. They are swearing and there's blood and gore, and it is just a fabulous scene. And I just was sitting on the couch chewing away on my popcorn with my mom, in my PJs, you know,
Right.
just the way that a 4-year-old would be when they were watching a horror movie.
Well, and for those of you like, if we're kind of like being a little weird about the movie, this movie to me is like the perfect mix of Alien meets Tremors in the water. Like that to me is like the perfect description of this movie. And like there's like mercenaries and like sabotaging. Like it's just there's so much wrapped up in this movie. And we know which scene affected you the most from Deep Rising, V, but what would you say your favorite scene from the film is?
Oh man. I don't know. The cinematography in the movie for the time that was happening, it just holds up so well.
Hell yeah, it does.
And looking back on it, because I hadn't watched it in a very long time, and I rewatched it. And it holds up incredibly well for the time that it was shot, and the acting is just like on point.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it's like such a crazy ass movie, it's just I love the cinematography so much, and like I'm such a film nerd. I took a bunch of film classes in undergrad, and I am into photography, obviously. And so I just appreciate like how they did like the shots and the
Yeah.
lighting and all of the things so much. I think aside from just like the storyline, the way that they filmed the movie is what holds up strongest for me.
Sure. And like I said, going back and rewatching it, I was like, wow, like this looks really good. Like that's the biggest takeaway I had from the movie was it looks great. Like it's a great looking film, especially as somebody that's not a CGI guy. CGI has never really been my cup of tea, but damn, they really nailed it in this movie. And they had a lot of really big production companies on this movie. Like the fact that it lost so
Yeah.
much money is it blows my mind because this seems like the perfect movie to come out at this time. Like another thing I did is I rewatched the kill count on it. You know, a big fan of Dead Meat. Zoran is a friend of mine, and he did a kill count episode on this, and he's right. Like this movie came out like when Anaconda was coming out, like all these creature feature movies were coming out.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that this movie did as bad as it did back then. So, you kind of started to hint at it a little bit. So I kind of want to dive headfirst into this as horror fans, we love the kills. Kills is something that we think is just the bee's knees, especially when they look good. And you kind of started to talk about, I'll fill in the blank, Billy,
Yes.
his death scene here. I was going to ask, is that your favorite death/kill in the film?
I believe so. I mean, there's a lot of really good death scenes in this movie. But I think Billy's is just like so like
Shocking. Like, and
yeah.
just when you see it, like, and he's looking at himself, like when he comes out of the creature, you're just like, oh my god, it's Billy, and you're just like, oh my
Yeah,
god, it was
it's
at
Billy.
some
And
point,
you
Billy,
just like yeah. And like you just don't expect it,
right?
and it catches you off guard. Especially as the 4-year-old. You're just like, wait, what's happening?
Oh, absolutely, and I always love that because we look at these films now. I'm a bit older than you, as a 37-year-old man, and I look at these films now, and I'm like, these. It's hard for me to remember a time where I was not desensitized to it. But you got to figure, when we were 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, we were watching these for the first time. We're going from An American Tale and The Land Before Time to Deep Rising. Like that's a fucking jump. Like that's a
Oh
leap
yeah.
right
I was going
there.
from like Arthur and Magic School Bus to Deep Rising,
Deep
man.
Rising.
Like,
So Deep Rising, they did do a couple sequels. I know at least one. They did at least one sequel to this. I don't know if they did more than that, but obviously in Hollywood, remakes, requel sequels is kind of all the rage. Is Deep Rising a film that you would like to see them attempt a remake on today?
I would love to see a remake. That would be so much fun to see with like modern day like technology.
Yeah.
That would be fabulous.
See, because I think in horror movies, and I always point to the newer film comes to my mind, Renfield. When you have a movie like Renfield and you're going to use a lot of over the top CGI, that's perfect. Renfield is the perfect movie when I talk about CGI because you know what they're going for in that movie and it looks great because that's what they're trying to do. With a movie like Deep Rising, especially with the cult following this has gathered, I think you could remake this movie and make a shit ton of money on it and make your money back immediately because of
Oh
the
yeah.
CGI that you could use if you're going for that over the top look. So, we talked about Deep Rising, V, and what that movie means to you watching it for the first time when you were very young. But now I do want to throw a little bit of a curveball at you here for a second. My little buddy Ghostface is here, and he has a question for you. What's your favorite scary movie, V? What is your
Oh.
favorite horror movie of all time?
Ah, fuck.
It's funny.
Probably
I
the
never tell people I'm going to ask them this question because I want the answer to be off the seat of your pants.
um I would say probably the original Halloween.
Okay. Hard to argue that. Um, it's the movie that, while I don't think it was the first slasher, I go back to Psycho, I go back to Black Christmas, these movies. I think that Halloween 1978 perfected the formula of, this is your hero, this is your anti-hero, you know enough about both of them to where you really feel like, you go back to like Black Christmas, you don't know shit about Billy, except for he's in the attic, he's crazy, you never even
Yeah.
see him. You go to Psycho and you really don't know much about Mother. All you know is, Norman, but with
Yeah.
Halloween, you know just as much about Michael as you do Laurie. And it's one of those movies that to say me personally, not a huge fan of the franchise. I know that's crazy because I love horror movies, but um I just like I could never deny the impact it had. Halloween 1978 is for slashers what the Beatles are for rock and roll.
Yeah.
Um, without the Beatles, there wouldn't be rock and roll today like we know it. Without uh, Halloween 1978, we wouldn't have Jason Voorhees. We wouldn't have Freddy Krueger. We wouldn't have my homeboy Chucky. I believe that without Halloween 1978, horror would not be what it is today. I could say that and not be a huge fan of the whole franchise, but good,
Absolutely.
good call. And that's another one of those movies like I put with Psycho and Jaws that showed you how important a score can be to a horror movie. Um, People that have never seen those three movies, Psycho, Jaws, or Halloween 1978, they still know the scores,
Oh,
even without
absolutely.
ever seeing those movies. So those movies really show you what an impact music can make to a horror movie. So V, I've had an amazing time talking to you about your first horror movie, your favorite horror movie. But before I let you go, we always bounce back to the same question. We're going to go back to Deep Rising, and what we're going to do is rank this movie on a skull count. Now, we're not ranking it on acting, production, score, CGI, nothing like that. We're not being critics. What we're doing here, V, is strictly ranking this movie on how much it affected you on your first viewing. So 0 skulls being not effective, 5 being extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. V, what would your ranking of Deep Rising be?
Um, I'm gonna say a 3 because the follow-up to that is that the original Candyman is the one that affected me the most growing up in the direction that I am going towards.
Right. Another movie, Ash, my wife and I, we just did the top 9, the Rad 9 movies that scared us. That was on the list. Um, that's a movie that fucked me up as a kid. Like, and it's funny because I never hear people talk about the scene, but the scene where you see the little boy in the bathroom with his penis cut off, that's the scene that got me as a little boy, obviously for obvious reasons. But I was like, whoa, that's what he's doing? No, no, keep this guy away from me. I'm allergic to bees and I like my wiener. Keep this guy the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
So Candyman is definitely one of those movies that fucked me up. So I know I said this at the beginning, guys, but I got to stress it again. All of these social media links are down in the description. So make sure you're giving them a follow. Stay up to date on everything they have coming up. Because, like I said, with the LLC, with doing the Grow Wrapped in Plastic, you're going to be getting a whole lot more. So please make sure you're following them on social media. V, please don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel more than you know. And follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. Our links are in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.